In this video, I'm gonna share how meditation transformed my life. I'm gonna go over and share how I got started with meditation and hopefully be able to provide you with insights and your next step if you're someone who's trying to either get into meditation or further develop your meditative practice. My name is Marcus. I'm a medium, a coach, and a channeler, and it is my intention to be of service to people who are trying to navigate this world of spirit. I thank you so much for being here, and I hope this video will be useful. So why meditation? The purpose of meditation from my perspective is to connect with our soul. That's the very simple and straightforward kind of like perspective I have on meditation. It is a way for us to step into that soul essence, that higher self, if you will. And there's many ways to say this, to connect with our soul, our higher self, our intuition, connect with our truth, bigger aspects of ourselves. It's kind of all the same to me. And once we're connected, it has the capacity to solve all of our problems because our soul knows. We have so much information inside, but we're so used to looking outside because the internal perspective is not valid or valued, I should say, in society. And sometimes it's even like, completely dismissed and saying like, no, there's no such thing as a soul. But in my experience, there's very much, a soul part of us that has this knowledge on our next step. And so meditation is a way for us to really align with that. Important to highlight is the fact that everyone's path is unique and everyone's way to meditate can be very different. The way I got started with meditation was with curiosity. I had no idea about anything about meditation. I had no preconceived ideas. So I was very much coming into this with a very clean slate and just, let's see what happens. And my encouragement to you is to explore this in your own way, in ways that you find, resonate with you. Maybe you want to sit in this way, but you've seen someone online sitting like that way. Doesn't matter. You can sit however you want and you can kind of meditate in whatever way you want. So I got into meditation about 10 years ago. I was visiting my medium, my mentor, and she asked me, Marcus, have you ever meditated? Because at that point I was like low, I was not doing very well emotionally, and I kind of need a little come on. And she asked me do you ever meditate? I said, no, not really, man, not really sure what is even meditation, And she says, well, if you're gonna do it, do it your way, and I think she told me that 10 times, just do it your way, just do it, your way. And so that's very much my encouragement to you as well. And I went into a sitting meditation, and I just asked myself, what will happen if I close my eyes sitting down for 20 minutes? So that was how I got into it. And I should mention, before that, I had never tried that. I wasn't quite sure I believed it. I was very much a skeptic. And I was practicing meditation for a while, and that led me to, discover some aspects of spirituality. I got into all of that through music, and then eventually discovering chakras, our 7 energy centers, and how that's sometimes correlated with different tones. And so I was toning on a specific chakra, and I remember thinking first no, this is not working. And then the second time I tried it again. I got the same feeling. I sat and didn't, it's not working. And then the third time I tried again, and I said this is not working. I'm going to give up on this whole thing called meditation. As soon as I had that thought, I had my first spiritual experience, which was I received a drop, imagine a drop of water just touching the top of your crown. And with the knowing that this little drop is just an infinitely small percentage of the greater, which I kind of saw in my mind's eye as this like big sphere of water, almost like a consciousness, i.e. source. And when it hit me, I was just filled with, I don't know, like so much energy and love. I started sweating and my heart started pounding. I like when it hit me, like it shook me, and it was so much awesome energy. And I just like, okay, I guess this is working. So I'm very glad, I'm very grateful that when I said to myself, no, this is not working, there was divine intervention. So I'm very grateful for that. But the key thing here is like I tried once, tried twice, and the third time I tried, it's like, nah. So I was trying to, I was intrigued. So I just needed a little nudge there. And I found that we will receive these experiences when we need them, not necessarily when we want them. So to ask for experiences every time we meditate, I found is not very empowering, because we only need them, when we need them. And that's when we will receive them. The fruit of meditation is the meditation itself is something that I've come to understand. And now I'm just loving meditation, and I can't think of living my life without it. So I had that experience, the drop, and the key aspects I started to explore during my first year or so, maybe during meditation, was to listen. Like meditation is very synonymous with listening. It is in fact listening, versus praying might be speaking to the universe, and meditation is listening to the universe. So I would meditate, I would notice my current state, I would pay attention to my thoughts, and I didn't know I'm supposed to have a quiet mind. I didn't know any of these things. I was just like, oh wow, I have so many thoughts, and I would just listen to my thoughts. And then the more I did that, the more I could kind of watch the thoughts, kind of just without even knowing that's what I'm supposed to do, quote, quote. And it was very much understanding my whole internal world. So I would have thoughts, and then sometimes I would have, insights maybe, and I would feel oh, that's coming from a different place. That's coming from like my heart, almost, it seems. So I would start to decipher, well, if it's coming from mind or heart, it's making me feel very differently. Mind is very oh, I need to do this thing, I need and I should and I must, versus heart is here's another perspective, here's an option, how do you feel about this? And there would be a peace that would be attached to the knowings from heart. And I would have these insights. Sometimes I would have memories come up, and it's oh, I haven't thought about that in a long time, and I would make connections. And then when I would be in a bad state, I would maybe be irritated or whatever, I would be able to understand that, okay, so that's why I was triggered by that, because of that thing that happened years ago with someone in my family, or whatever it might be. So it gave me insights by just sitting and listening. So that was the first step. And so after I've kind of mapped my internal world, which I call spiritual interoception, mapping out the different centers where we can receive information from, and kind of getting in tune with my chakras. I started with that very early. And yeah, so once I did that, then I started receiving thoughts and emotions from outside of me. At this point in my meditative practice, I could feel okay, this is mind and this is heart. And then I would have insights, but it would feel it's coming from around here, outside of me. And at that time I was receiving information and not quite understanding what it was, but I eventually from my mentor, I asked her what's going on there? She's well, it's your guides. I was what do you mean my guides? So we had, that's when I was introduced to spirit guides. And I remember first initially starting to learn the different positions or the different directions insights would come into. And at one point, like I was sitting and meditating, it's like, okay, who are my spirit guides? Like, who are you guys? And I would ask, and then my head would start to move without me consciously like moving it. And they would stop, and then they would stop at different positions. I was like, oh, that's weird. It felt totally peaceful, felt totally calm. And then the next day it's like, okay, let me ask again. Well, who are this? And then eventually I understood that, oh, like there's a guide there, there's a guide there. And then eventually I started to tune into these spots, and it's like, okay, this feels like maybe like a feminine, more angelic being. And this feels like, oh, maybe a male, like an older gentleman, maybe from another place of the earth that's very wise, you know. So like I had these like intuitive insights about what was around me. And so that's how I started with my connection with my spirit guides. And some very important steps that, you know, like teachings that were being presented to me very early by my spirit guides was to be able to decipher good energy and bad energy. What's beneficial and what's not. And the way that they practice with me was to sometimes send me energy that makes me feel good. Sometimes they would try to trick me in sending me energy that felt not very good. And then I would like have this like, well, like my chest would feel tight, and I would just like, well, what's going on? Like, I'm not understanding. And then eventually I realized like, well, this is not making me feel good, so stop. I don't want anything with that energy anymore. And then I could relax. I was like, oh, I can just say no. And I can be really firm in saying no. And eventually I understood that they were practicing with me. And kind of like on a day-to-day basis, like being very quick with those changes. And so if it feels very good, I notice it and I ask, is this something I want to take on? And then if it was beneficial for me, I said yes. And then I would receive more of it. And then sometimes it made me feel like stressed and ungrounded. Then I would say, no, I don't want that. So that's probably the most important technique, in my humble opinion, to navigate this world of spirit. Because we need to be able to decipher what is beneficial for us and not. So that's a bit on how I got started with meditation. And now it looks a little bit differently, because now I'm very much dedicated to this path. Before, that was one part of my life. Now it's the way, the kind of like the way I'm walking through life and having this perspective. And this is as important as water, food, sleep, you know. Then comes meditation. It's the necessary step I need to take every day to make sure that I am aligned and connected. If I don't do that, I will be ungrounded, I will be irritated, I will be tired, I will be just not myself, because then I'll be only me, only Marcus, only the human. Then I won't be connected to my higher self, or whatever you want to call the bigger aspect of you. And so having that to constantly reinforce this connection makes it stronger and stronger each day. So a typical day for me, I wake up and I have a very quick kind of like it's an 8-minute like chakra tuning. 1 minute to kind of just like relax, and then 1 minute per chakra. I do some toning and I have my hands in the positions, and I feel like that's a nice way to just kind of wake up. I kind of check in my energy levels, and I also believe that it has a very beneficial, it's kind of like tuning. Imagine playing a guitar and it's being out of tune. Like, you can't make nice music with that. If I'm out of tune, I can't show up in the world as someone that wants to be of service. You know, I can't provide any good vibes if I'm not vibing good, you know. So that's very important for me to kind of like stay connected and stay tuned, basically. So I do that, and sometimes I journal about dreams and stuff to kind of like understand you know, what I was dreaming about. So in the morning, it's usually very, very quick, like 10-15 minutes. And then I kind of like want to get started with the day. The exception to that is like lately I've been waking up at like 3 or 4 in the morning, because the sun rises here in Sweden very early. So sometimes I'm just like, well, let's just get up. And then I sit and have a really nice and powerful meditation when it's during that time, because I feel like the veil is very thin then, and also most people are sleeping. So I've been noticing that during certain times of the day, the collective consciousness is very, jittery and scattered, or it's calm. And so when people are sleeping, I feel like it's way easier for me to meditate, because then I'm not in tune with the collective consciousness as much, which, it's 2026 on planet Earth. It's a bit chaotic right now. So finding those moments in the early mornings or in the late evenings is when I'm having the most deep and most profound, meditative experiences. And then throughout the day, if I feel good, I don't feel like I need to meditate in the middle of the day. Maybe I'm just in the flow doing things, then I don't need to meditate in the day. But if I'm feeling like, something like triggered me or got me scattered, or I feel ungrounded, then I might take like another 10 or 15 minutes, preferably under my beautiful apple tree, and I sit and do some breathing exercise. I kind of connect with nature and just kind of like ground and release whatever negative momentum I maybe, took on. And that kind of brings me back to center. And then in the evening is when I have my bigger meditation. And the purpose of that is very much listening and receiving guidance from my guides. Then it's learning new things, getting insights, have memories come up. The next steps are being presented. Maybe I'm receiving information on videos to do. So it's a very informative way. And now it's very much like related to my business and, the path I'm on right now. But it's also like I'm also discovering deeper aspects of myself. And the reason why I sit longer, I usually sit at least 30 minutes up to an hour, sometimes longer in the evening, because it takes a while to really get deep. Like it takes 10, 15 minutes sometimes for me to just like, okay, think all the things I need to think. And I have a notepad and I write down like, oh, that's right, I forgot about that, I need to do this. So kind of just like clear out thoughts. And then once I've done that, I breathe a bit, and then that's when I go deep, right? And I communicate with spirit and my guides. And it's a very special thing for me. And I cannot imagine living life without that aspect now. It's very much, I'm connecting to more of me, basically. And I'm feeling that coming online more and more by each meditation session, basically. And so I've also noticed that there are things that move me out of alignment, and there are things that move me into alignment. And basically anything that moves me in alignment are things that, my soul really loves doing. Like I play music and I do a lot of sports, like I do martial arts. And when I'm doing those things, it's like that's almost the same as meditation, because it's bringing out more of who I'm actually, who I actually am, versus things like, social media. It's like that's bringing me out of alignment, because it's like too crazy. It's making me ungrounded, and it's like my mind is just like, oh, it's too crazy. It's too much information overload, and all of that is like so loud compared to our voice, our internal voice. It's like when we're watching a movie or scrolling on Instagram, it's like that's so loud, so it's like hard for us to then tune in and hear that, because the energies are so different. So if you want to get started with meditation, here are some thoughts, food for thought. And I'm going to share the absolute secret to getting started. Don't tell anyone. And the secret is, there is no secret. Just start. It's very simple, and you can just get started. The curiosity was the biggest factor for me, to just like, oh, well, I wonder what will happen if I sit down with my eyes closed for 20 minutes. And you have all the answers that you seek. Everything you're seeking is within, is what I usually say at the end of my videos. And it couldn't be more true in this topic. The biggest block I see people have with meditation is that they think it needs to be a specific way, or that there needs to be outcomes, results of it, and forgetting that The meditation itself is the fruit of meditation. It doesn't need to be in any specific way. It can be in a way that is true to you. And sometimes things doesn't happen during meditation. In a way, that can be the greatest experience of just like experiencing peace and quietness. That can be very beautiful and very powerful too. So with that being said, I hope this information and this perspective was useful. Today's coaching question is, what's stopping you from getting started with meditation? What's stopping you from continuing on your meditative practice? Feel free to comment below or to contemplate personally. And if the answer is, well, I just don't know how to get started, I don't know what I'm doing, your soul knows. That's the whole point. If you're saying, I don't know how to meditate, if you meditate, you will connect with your soul, and your soul knows how to meditate. So that's another power of meditation, of like, sometimes I'm like, well, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do that, I don't know what to do. As soon as I sit and meditate, I know what to do, because the next steps are always within us. So again, thank you for being here. I hope this video was useful. Peace.